And we're back.
And we're back. Long hiatus here through the
Yeah.
summer, but excited to be back. Have some things to catch up on. Today we are going to talk about
The Acolyte.
the Acolyte, not episode one, not episode two, but the whole darn season.
Yeah.
And it's sort of our episode on canceled shows, perhaps, right?
Yeah, it's let's jump right into it,
Yeah.
I
What did
felt
you think of the Acolyte?
I felt that the Acolyte could have been great, but it really wasn't. It just was not great.
Yeah, there were parts of it I liked.
Hmm.
Um, I wasn't sure, I like how when I'm watching these new things that I'm the that the story and the setting and the time period and all that kind of help me learn things
Yeah.
and fill some things out. I don't think it really did that,
Yeah.
and definitely there was um uh,
Issues?
there were yeah, things that it's kind of like when you're watching something, you just want to get immersed in what's going
Hmm.
on. You might think about, oh my gosh, that guy's look at that guy in the background or
Yeah.
whatever. But this one, there was a lot of time you're like, well, why did that happen? Or why did they do that? Like that they were kind of struggling to pull a story
Yeah.
together.
So I think what really ticked me off about this show and that this was gonna be a bad show was the first episode. In the first episode, I forget the main character, Twin One, is working on a ship, and while she's working on a ship because of some error, there's a little fire appears outside of the ship that she's working on,
Oh, right.
and makes her it makes her go into a sort of hearing flashback, and he's like, "Whoa, something terrible happened." But in my mind, I can only think, how's there a fire outside of
Oh, in
in
space.
space with
Right.
no oxygen? Like, sure, plenty of other shows in Star Wars that's happened, but it just was confusing to me. Like,
Right.
why?
Right. And that was the start.
Yeah. And the show kind of only got worse from there. There were a few times where the show was good, but it was just really confusing. A
Hmm.
lot of the time, you're wondering, wait, why did that character do that? Why did that
Right.
happen?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, for instance, in some shows, when there's a battle and then it's like there's a battle over here and then these guys have a battle, and it's like back and forth,
Mhm.
and it doesn't really seem like something is resolved, and it's like one team leaves just enough people alive on the other team so that the other team can regroup and
Right.
fight them, and it didn't, there were times where it just the story, they were just kind of like dragging it out to
Right.
try and make a story. And I think, like there is a grain of something interesting
Mhm.
in there, right? Twins, somebody was alive, somebody didn't die. There's and I guess it's also dealing with the peak, let's say, of the Jedi, right? Like in terms of the Jedi questioning themselves, the Jedi people questioning the
Yeah.
Jedi, people being angry at the Jedi, and in this case, clearly Jedi making mistakes, Jedi getting, all that stuff, and but the actual story and the burning things and what really happened, and why, I guess a classic one was like, how did all those witches get killed all at once? And so, there was just like a few of those things,
Oh
right?
yeah, there are quite a few issues that I have. So, the first one is how incompetent the Jedi are. Like, they're stupid. The, the main the supposed main four bad, like, evil Jedis that, did something terrible. The first one died in the first episode. Okay. Second one killed himself after being gaslit by the evil twin.
Right.
The third was killed off screen, and the four felt kind of unearned to me, um, which does not bode well with the main story or the backstory of you killed my family. But
and the whole like the bad guy, I forgot what his name is. He had some
Yeah.
cool things, right? The whole mask was actually pretty scary,
Yeah, the
and
dark teeth.
some of the battles in the forest were pretty good.
Mhm.
Some of the lightsaber battles, but it's kind of weird. Like he just switches twins, kind of, and acolytes, and
Yeah.
people. Like you see, there's something deeper that this person can be good or bad
Right.
or drawn over or whatever. But I don't know. You never quite really fully understand the arc of the character, why they're making certain
Right.
decisions or something.
I think I have a theory on that. Um, so in the final episode, as the main bad guy and the technically good sister are leaving the planet, we see a character kind of appear from the cave. He places his hand and looks.
Oh,
So
right.
the interesting thing is it's believed that that is Darth Plagueis, who would train Palpatine to become his Padawan. So
Oh,
I
wow.
believe that they were kind of setting up that this
To see
new
the early days of Palpatine, you mean, or
that it heck it could have been even that. Imagine this. So interesting thing about Plagueis is that he's super into trying to how to try to figure out how to be immortal. I'm thinking that what they were setting up was basically going to be, I think Shin and the or not good sister and main evil bad guy would maybe be the parents of Palpatine,
oh, interesting.
right?
Interesting. Yeah, and I mean, they also didn't really get into the whole the twins were born without a dad kind of thing.
Yeah, so that caused a lot of issues. The only other person who had that special thing was Anakin Skywalker. So
oh,
they kind of took his special thing and made it their own, but made it really stupid to me because, as the witches put it, oh yeah, we plucked some strings of the Force and that grown them. No, because the Sith had been trying to do that. So some witches in the middle of nowhere doing that.
didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the witches, their whole thing was all over the place. Like how an entire coven of witches died to like two Jedi's mind powers after they took over one
Right.
Wookiee
Right.
because of some sort of like psychic backlash.
Right. And they should have been, they were quite powerful, right?
Yeah, like the head witch turned into like a shadow demon, which was cool,
Yeah.
but I can also see why the Jedi kind of killed her because if a woman turned to a shadow demon right in front of me and was doing something to her daughter
Mhm.
that looked like they were melding into one, I may kill her as well.
Right.
It's
Right.
it's really confused. Like the show has an interesting setup, but it has too much going on too fast, and none of
Right.
it's developed enough.
Right. And also because I feel like they were trying to introduce you know, like quote unquote bad Jedi's or Jedi's who
Mm,
had questions or didn't
questionable things.
questionable things or trying, and so it was, I don't know, they were trying to introduce this different shading of Jedi's, but that
Yeah.
was kind of like a hard thing to do, and I just wasn't too
Yeah.
sure, you know.
As someone who's watched a lot of the extra media of Star Wars, I
Mhm.
can see what they were trying to do. They were trying to show how this is basically the High Republic. This is the highest the Jedi are, basically. And we
Mhm.
start to see the incompetence and like
Right.
what leads to the current state of the Jedi when
Mhm.
they were all killed. But it's done really, really, really stupid and plot breaking because one of the characters in the show is a character in the prequels, except this is 100 years ago, meaning he's an extra 100 years old, and also a member of like also still a member of the Jedi Inner Circle, which is really confusing. And the fact that he is there means that his direct line of saying that the Sith have not been seen in over a millennia, a lie, a lore breaking lie, and it's annoying because I see what
Right.
they're trying to build up. The Jedi are incompetent, but they're just making the Jedi look really stupid. Like more stupid than they should look.
Right, right. Yeah, it was, they were trying to do some new things and it didn't quite work. So
Yeah.
as you said, maybe there was some lore breaking. I'm not, as
Mhm.
familiar with that. There was just, the whole thing was a little bit uncomfortable and I guess unfortunately because it was canceled, season 2, we're never
Yeah.
gonna, or at least not for a long time, get to see some of this stuff resolved and where they were trying to take it and that kind
Yeah,
of thing, right?
it's both the fan backlash and also maybe the price of the show. Do you know how much it cost to make this show? 180 million.
The whole
The
thing.
whole thing,
Wow.
which is a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
So I can,
Especially,
sorry.
no, I was gonna say, especially since it's been canceled, right?
Yeah, I could see where what the show wanted to be. It wanted to
Right.
show what kind of caused the prequels to be, how the Jedi were weak and
Mhm.
barely any of them before they're all killed. I can see that. And I can kind of appreciate that,
Yeah,
but it did it in a terrible way. It
yeah,
added things that didn't need to be added. It made questionable things. It just it could have been great. I would have loved to see it. A lot of people were excited to see it
mm,
because they thought it was going to be an entirely different show about like Palpatine, but
right,
it wasn't.
right.
And so I hope that maybe one day they do a season 2. I hope that they do a season 2 and they rectify the mistakes
Yeah.
by
It's hard to do a season 2 if people get older and all that stuff, right? You have limited time to be able
yeah,
to try and do it, but well, okay, so Acolyte came and gone, a little bit disappointing, and
very
but
disappointing.
canceled, disappointing to lots of other people, clearly.
Mhm.
But what's coming up next in the Star Wars?
Skeleton Crew, which
Oh,
seems to be kind of like more of like a, a hero, like a young
is it
kid's
a live
hero.
action or a
It
cartoon?
is
Yeah,
live action,
yeah.
and honestly, it looks really interesting because
Oh,
I think it's the first time we've seen a world in Star Wars, at least in the very beginning, that kind of looks modern future. Like it looks like an inner city area,
right,
but like based in Star Wars, which is crazy because I don't think we've ever seen that before.
right, right.
And
Interesting.
so it looks really interesting,
Hmm.
and I think it could be a great show.
Yeah.
Though with how the Acolyte went, I'm I'm a bit worried.
Yeah.
But I've got hope.
Yeah. Well, when's it coming out?
I don't know, maybe like in December or something.
Okay, so we've got a bit of a
Yeah.
wait for that one.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So that's the Acolyte, and Skeleton Crew
Coming up.
is coming up, and that's great.
Yeah. And until we see you guys again.
Take care.
Take care.